Hello and welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Tuesday, January 15th, 2019, and this is episode 86. My name is Carol and you can find me on Ravelry as Knits and Pearls. The show notes for this and every episode can be found on the blog and also in the episode thread in the Ravelry group. If you'd like to get in touch, I would love to hear from you. You can send me a private message on Ravelry, leave a comment on YouTube, or leave a comment in the group, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today on this glorious day here in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada. I live about 100 kilometers or 60 miles east of Vancouver, and we have enjoyed a stretch of just beautiful sunny weather, blue skies, fresh snow on the mountains. It's a real treat after our usual wintry weather of gray skies and rain, and it's put everybody in a good mood, including myself. When we get a stretch of weather like this, it makes me realize how much I miss the sunshine and how much I appreciate it when it is here. So thanks so much to all of you who reached out this week. I heard from so many of you. Thank you. I missed you too. Thank you for saying you missed me. I'm really happy to be back podcasting for another year. I had the privilege really this week of having very few responsibilities and thus having a ton of knitting time. So I have a lot of things to show you. I found myself wanting to knit everything, and so rather than work on just one or two, I think I have like 6 projects to share with you. I would sort of get focused on one for a while and then move to another, but it has definitely been a really good week for recharging the batteries and easing back into life after the busy holidays. And after today, I've got something going on every day this week, so I knew it was not going to last. That's why I think I appreciated it so much. So probably won't have quite as much to show you next week, but sit back and get comfortable. First things first, I want to talk to you about the New to You Craft Along. I have had several people expressing interest in taking part in this. It is a new year and time to try something new, whether it be a new technique within a familiar craft or a new craft altogether. So join in the chatter over on the Ravelry group. There is a thread dedicated to this CAL, C-A-L this time. And I am just going to, I still haven't figured out what my prizes are going to be, and but I will find something, I promise. But it's just a fun way to hang out and cheer each other on in our new endeavors, and perhaps help each other out if we've already have some familiarity with the new skill or new craft that someone's trying out. So at the end of the CAL, which is tentatively scheduled for February 28th of this year, I will draw one or more names from this chatter thread and you will win a fabulous prize. Why don't I jump right into what I've been working on? I am going to try steeking this year, and I'm going to do that by knitting this Thrustone cardigan by Bristol Ivy. This pattern can be knit either as a cardigan or a pullover, and I've decided to bite the bullet and make myself a new cardigan. There's another look at the yoke here. What I didn't realize till I really sat down and looked at the pattern is that the cardigan has these pockets. And you can see that the pocket lining is a colorwork square, I guess, colorwork lining to this pocket. So that will be my first attempt at steeking, because you knit this pocket lining in the round and then steek it and then somehow attach it to the body of the sweater. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Funnily enough, that has me way more nervous about this sweater than the idea of like sticking down the front and doing neck bands and button bands. I've done that sort of thing before, not the sticking part, but you know, doing button bands and buttonhole bands and neck bands. I don't have a lot of experience with pockets. I have a little bit, and I'm sure that I can manage it, but this, to me, I look at this and I think, well, you better get it right or it could look really wrong. So wish me luck on that. I have decided to tackle the sleeves first and get the, face it, most boring part of the sweater out of the way first. And it also is a good way of doing a gauge swatch. I actually started out the sleeves, found my needle for my main part was one size too big, so I have gone down to a 3mm needle to knit the stockinette portion of the sweater. So as you can see, I've got a few inches done on the sleeves. And I decided while I was at it, I did the ribbing for both sleeves, and then I decided to just get the worst part of the sweater out of the way too. And I cast on all the ribbing for the bottom of the sweater and did that too. And here you can see is the section that's being set up for the steek in the center of the front. So that feels good. It was not an enjoyable day's knitting or evenings or however long it took me between them all by any stretch. I guess I did it over a couple days, but like I say, kind of the boring part is now out of the way. I have to wait till I finish the sleeves to work on the sweater anymore because the needles I need are tied up in these sleeves. So once I'm done with those, I'll put them onto waste yarn and then I can start on the body. And what I probably will do before that is maybe I will tackle the colorwork linings so that I will get a sense of what size needle I need for the colorwork section and be ready for them when I reach that part of the sweater. I believe that is one of the very first steps that is laid out in the actual instructions, is to do that pocket lining. So it does make sense to get that out of the way. I'm just looking for a place to put these that will not be in the way. Crinkle, crinkle. I'm just going to throw them back in the, this is the bag that came from Craftsy with all the yarn. It was a kit I got from Craftsy, so I've just been keeping it all in there. And I will show you the yarn that I'm using. So there are 4 colors of Cloudborn Highland Sport, and Cloudborn is a yarn that is Craftsy's line of yarns. So the main color is Shayla Heather. Then there is Taupe Heather. This one is Stone Heather. And then this one's just called Ocean. I love that teal green. That, I think, I love brown and this color together, which is, I think, what attracted me to this sweater in the first place. In fact, I know it's exactly what attracted me in the first place. I think it'll be really nice when it's done. And it does feel good to finally cast it on after talking about it for the last little while. Take a sip of my tea. It's probably cold by now. I think I did the introduction at least 10 times before I got it right. I have another new cup to show you. This one is from, and also from David's Tea, but I actually bought this one myself after Christmas with some Christmas gift money. I had seen it before Christmas and I'd showed my husband, but what I didn't know is he'd already bought me the other cup that I showed you last week. So I decided if it was still in the store that I was going to buy it myself. And it is also another color changing mug. Now I knew it had stars, and I knew that when it warmed up it would, it would show what I thought were going to be the traditional constellations. But actually what it is a series of little pictures. So there's a little tea bag, a cup, a heart, sorry it's a little bit glare, a diamond, and I don't know, is this supposed to be like the Big Dipper or something? That one I'm actually not even sure if maybe it is supposed to be a constellation. Anyway, I kind of like to think of it as the Big or the Little Dipper. But again, fun cup, and when the cup cools off, like these different constellations will disappear, and all you see are the stars. I felt like I really wanted a David's teacup that wasn't seasonal. I think all but one that I own, which is a clear glass mug, most of them are winter oriented, and one is kind of spring summer. So I wanted one I felt like I could use all year round. Okay, moving along. Last week I showed you my Sew Faded, my second version of Sew Faded, because I knit a successful one last year. And I'll show you the yarn. First, it's Hedgehog Fibers sock yarn. Sorry, it's Suddy. The downside of that is there's a lot of glare when I'm trying to show you labels. Color A I have is Vengeance. Color B is Truffle. That's this one. And color C is Malice. So I think I've got about a couple more inches to do with my waist decreases, and then I will knit straight for a bit and introduce the third color. So last week I think I had just sort of begun blending in the second color. Let's see, hopefully that shows up pretty well. I think so. I have done a lot of knitting and re-knitting, knitting, unknitting, and re-knitting on this week, trying to get the color B just right. It is a little bit of a different, it is variegated, obviously, like the first color, but I think the pattern of variegation is different. Plus, I'm now doing decreases so that every time I decrease by 2 stitches, actually 4 stitches in a round, it changes how the colors are what's the word I'm looking for? Distributing themselves on the knitting. And so I was getting a fair bit of pooling and trying to figure out how I could manage that with the least bit of hassle. So what I ended up doing, I was really happy with how it blended into the existing yarn, and then I think for the first inch or so before I did the first decrease, it was fine. But what I ended up doing is taking it back to that first set of decreases, and I started working off both ends of the ball at once. And at first I was alternating every row, but then I was finding I was getting some pooling even with that. And so what I've been doing is sort of, as I feel like it, I sometimes will knit 2 rows with one end, 2 rows with the other. Sometimes I alternate 1 and 1. Sometimes I'll do 2 and then 1 and then back to 2. I'm just kind of doing it as I see fit at the time, just to try and get the colors distributed as evenly and as pleasing to the eye as possible. It will never be entirely perfect. After all, it is a variegated yarn, and part of that is that it's somewhat serendipitous where they colors end up. But by doing some color management, I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out. What I also did a couple of decreases back is I just made my way down. I think I can show you. I wanted to fill in this area with some of the goldy color. And so I just took my yarn ahead to that place, did one long big loop on the back, and then continued knitting. And again, that just helped redistribute the colors around the circumference and help the colors to distribute more evenly. And so I think I have 2 more sets of decreases to go, and I will continue to manage color as necessary. This will be the 3rd color that I work in. It's hard to say at this point till I start knitting how well those how those colors will distribute themselves, but definitely had success from knitting from both ends of the ball so far, and I will not hesitate to do that if necessary on the 3rd color. So anyway, I'm happy with how that's knitting up so far now that I've sort of figured out the secret. And it's a nice plain stockinette project, so it's been good for watching TV or just if I want to listen to an audiobook or something. Actually, I haven't even been listening to an audiobook this week. I'm not sure why I said that. More watching podcasts and news and TV. Cameron and I have a few nights this week have sat down in the evening and watched TV, which we don't always do actually. I'm not a huge TV watcher. He watches more than I do, but we've been watching Outlander again, and we record it every week and then watch it at some point during the week. And then there's I think it's Blue Planet 2 is currently on Netflix, which is all about the world's oceans, and that's been really interesting and stunningly beautiful to watch. The photography on that is amazing. I don't know how they get into these little nooks and crannies and film the fish and other sea creatures. It's amazing. So I have a project to show you that I have not shown you in a very long time, and if you had asked me last week, it wouldn't have occurred to me that I would be showing it to you today either. But I think it was after I'd been working on So Faded, and I knew that I needed to take it back a few rows and redo it, and it was just wasn't in the mood to do that. And I'd been knitting on some plain knitting projects for a bit, and I needed something with a little more interest. I picked up my Cedarburg shawl again. I had cast this on actually I originally cast it on, I see I've got my notes on the pattern here. I originally cast it on at the end of November 2017. And I knit it with 2 of the 3 yarns that I'll show you, and wasn't quite happy with how it was turning out, so I took it all apart and I began to reknit it. Let's see if I've got a date written on here. Yeah, back in September of 2018. I began to reknit it after subbing in one of the colors, and I'm a lot happier with my second version. This is the shawl. It's by Tabitha Hedrick, and it was a Sweet Georgia Yarns mystery knit along, I think in 2017. Although I did not do it as the mystery. And so it's a, that might give you a better idea, it's the black and white. It's an asymmetrical triangle shawl. You start out with just a few stitches and gradually get wider, wider, wider. And the 3 yarns that I'm using are the Sweet Georgia Tough Love Sock in the Gold Mine colorway, and the same yarn in the Smitten colorway. And I had originally done it with kind of this bright pink as the 3rd color, but it was just so bright I didn't see myself actually wearing it. And so I've substituted in a dark purple. It kind of tones down the brightness. And this yarn is Impulse of Delight Summit Sock in the dark amethyst colorway. Just dropped my bag that I've been storing it in. Summit Socks 80 Merino, 20% nylon. Sadly, I don't think this dyer is dyeing anymore. She lived in Whistler, British Columbia, and a lot of her yarn colorways were based on photographs that she took. And I had at one time quite a number of skeins. I think I only have a couple left that I haven't knit with yet. I think she has a really beautiful eye for color and for dyeing. I know she was going to school. That was a few years ago, so I haven't checked recently to see if she's back dyeing, but happy to be working with her yarn. So anyway, those are the 3 colors. And let's see here. It's always a challenge when you have balls of yarn and ends flying everywhere. So when I picked it back up, I think I was in the middle of, I was in the middle of this section. So I've done quite a bit since then. And this is probably upside down, yeah. So there, you can see it started with the gold. And it goes through a series of striped sections and plain sections, and then this columns, slip stitch column section, and that gets done in both the variegated and in the gold. And so I think I just have this last section of the slipped columns, or whatever they call it, in the gold, and then there's a stripy section like this one. And then the lace starts. And so the shawl ends with alternate sections of lace and the stripy sections. And so looking forward to seeing that purple appear in the wider stripes. And I think it'll really set off these colors nicely. Another sip here. And of course I've got socks on the needles because I always have socks on the needles. The first pair I had shown you last week is from this Turtle Pearl Yarns Striped Turtle Toes in the City Girl colorway. And fair bit done on those. Again, some TV knitting. Oh, we were watching this Netflix show called Instant Hotel, which takes place in Australia, and it's basically people that have, it's kind of like Airbnb. They have their homes set up to rent out, and it's a competition between, well, what we thought were just 5 couples competing with each other, and so we stayed up really late to see what we thought was going to be the finale, only to find out there's like 5 more couples, and the winner of that set squares off against the winner of the first 5 couples that we watched. So it was okay. It was fun, you know, to kind of see the different contestants and their setups and stuff. But we sort of kicked ourselves for staying up so late and getting invested in this thing to the degree that we did. That was Friday night, and we haven't watched it again since. I'm sure we'll go watch the end of it, but anyway, I know I worked on that for part of that time. So anyway, those are coming along really nicely. Getting close to, I guess, probably another stripe or so, and I'll be ready for the heels. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do as far as heels go on those socks. And then I've also worked on the hazelnut socks by Helen Stewart. That was sock number 5 of the Handmade Sock Society. So I'm doing it in Magpie yarn Swanky sock in the Hell's Bells colorway. And as I mentioned, Hell's Bells is Helen Stewart's Ravelry name, so I just think that's just so fitting. So I love this yarn, and I just love how it's knitting up. I think it's the perfect yarn for this project. So I am now ready to do the heel. I've got 7 inches of leg done, and I think it's 4 pattern repeats. Yeah, so it's time for the heel. So that's coming along very nicely. And I also have been working on the 6th pattern from Handmade Sock Society, also obviously by Helen Stewart, and I am knitting these out of Knit Picks Stroll Fingering in the Dove Heather colorway, and also Cascade Heritage in color 5607. Very inventive name, is red. So these are the Red Robin socks, and so these are also ready for the heel, and the heel will be done in the red, the heel flap and the heel turn, I think, and then you switch back to the main color. So again, this is a very simple pattern. It's only this little pattern stitch once every 4 rows. So it's been a nice easy one to work on too. Quite effective though. I really like the texture, and I love the red and gray together. So I think I will enjoy seeing these done and wearing them. Like I said earlier, I haven't listened to any audiobooks this week. In fact, I haven't really been reading at all, other than curling and doing the usual kind of household jobs. I really haven't done much this week other than knit, and it's been really nice. One advantage of cleaning the house really well before Christmas and then kind of tidying things up again as we put things away is that there weren't any big jobs that needed doing this week. So we woke up Saturday morning, we didn't have anything we had to do that day, so we spent a very lazy Saturday just knitting. My husband read a bunch, watched some TV, made something really easy for dinner. It was so nice. And then Sunday we had a few errands to run, like we got our hair cut, got groceries, things like that. But again, didn't have a lot we had to do, so it was just a really nice chill weekend. Kind of recharged our batteries. It was great. Looking ahead this week, there's something going on for the next 4 or 5 days, I guess. Every day there's something planned. Tomorrow I have to go to the dentist, which is why I chose to record today instead of tomorrow. But I'll tell you about other things next week. I realized that I forgot to include my Something Good segment in last week's podcast. I was a little out of practice for one, and I guess really it was so long anyway, probably didn't miss it. So something bad is I forgot my Something Good segment, but my Something Good for this week is comfort food. I don't know about you, but at this time of year when it's colder and you feel a little bit cozier, it's nice to make some of those what I think of as comfort foods, like meatloaf. And we're doing I did a chicken in the crock pot last night, so I'm doing chicken pot pie with the leftovers tonight. I made chicken soup, had some for lunch. On the weekend we had soup and grilled cheese sandwiches. I just love that kind of food. Makes you feel warm and cozy. It was actually really funny. My sisters and my mom and I have a private Facebook group where we exchange messages just to keep in touch on sort of a regular basis. And my one sister wrote about how she had received an Instant Pot from her kids for Christmas. So she listed off a couple of meals that she had made. And one was like a teriyaki pork with stir-fried veggies. And I said, well, I just made teriyaki beef with stir-fried veggies the night before for dinner. And then another sister said that she'd had meatloaf and stir-fried veggies that night. And I said, we had meatloaf tonight too. And then another sister chimed in to say she'd had meatloaf that night too. So it was quite funny. The 3 of us had meatloaf all in one evening. And my mom said to stop. We were making her hungry for real food. Of course, she lives on her own. She doesn't cook quite the same way as she used to when my dad was alive, because he liked real meals, and she cooked a real supper like every night for them. And as much as she doesn't mind kind of having something a little bit easier, because that's what she would tend to do if he was out at the cabin or something anyway, I think sometimes she does miss that opportunity to make, a real meal. Anyway, yeah, other than that, I don't have anything else to talk about this week. I'd say it's boring, but actually it wasn't boring at all. It was really cozy, and I had really enjoyed this chance to indulge my lazy streak. The bad part of it is this nice weather. I should have been out walking, and I wasn't. And it's been clouding over since I started talking to you, and I was checking the forecast. I think we've got one more decent day, and then it's back to rain. So I really should maybe get out for a walk while this is uploading. That would be a good thing. And try and get out tomorrow too. I really do need to start moving. It's not good to live like a slug. Anyway, on that note, thanks again for all your notes this week. I really love hearing from you. Come join the New to You Craft Along. And other than that, thank you so much for watching this episode. Have a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye.